Wonderful. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. And anytime, know that there's water and snacks over there for everyone. There's also some coloring sheets that we'll get to after the reading, and pin the tail and pin the ear on Lucky. And you're going to learn in the story why we're also going to pin the ear on Lucky, because he's a special horse and he actually went through a big journey through a flood and a fire, and he actually survived. So raise your hand or just shout out if you know what a flood is. What's a flood?
A whole bunch of water in small plates.
Yes. And there was actually a flood here in Pueblo in 1921. How many years ago do you think 1921 was? It's 2020, almost 2024 now.
About 100 years.
Yeah? What's your answer?
2 years ago.
2 years ago? To add a couple hundred years, or add 100 years to that plus. Yeah, so it would be, since we're in 2023, over 102 years. Next year it would be 103 years. So it's been a long time, but there was a big flood here when there was a lot of rain. And what happened was is that this horse, his name is Lucky, and he's actually at the place where I'm the director, the Pueblo Heritage Museum. And at the Pueblo Heritage Museum, you can actually see him. I'm going to pass this around just so that everyone can see him a bit better. And you can actually see a picture of what he looks like. And so you'll see in this picture, can you tell me if he looks like he's a horse, like flesh and bones, nay, horse? Or does he look like he might be a different kind of horse? Just shout out and let me know. Does he look like he's
not flesh and bone?
He's not flesh and bone.
His eyes are glass.
Yeah, actually, his eyes were originally glass. That's interesting you said that. Right now, his eyes are not glass anymore, but he used to have glass eyes. So I'm going to tell you more about his story. So I'm going to jump right into the reading. And while I do that, I am going to pass around copies. Unless you want to purchase one, I do need these back after. Although I will be giving away 2 copies to the people who get the closest on pin the tail and pin the ear. And so basically, with the book, I will pass it around. If you want to purchase it afterwards, just let me know. But you can follow along because there's so many cool pictures and stuff that are really from the past. And I really want you to be able to get a good look at it besides just me holding it up here. So I'm going to pass these around. Just be as careful as you can with them. And then I would love to jump right into the book. I do have even more over there, so there's more than enough. Maybe I can share with you. Cool. You can have it. Yeah. 2, 3, 2, 3. There we go. You want to talk to Mom? Cool. What about you? Do you have it? Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. And you too, Dad. Yeah. It's just easier to read along. And anyone out there, feel free to join us. I also want to acknowledge that a co-author of the book, Spencer Little, isn't here in person, but he's definitely here in spirit. And he helped majorly to put this book together. We wrote it together. So I'm going to just go right into, and then we'll answer questions at the end. I might ask you questions throughout, though, so we can really learn together. So here we go. Lucky to be alive. And I will be showing the people online as well. Based on the true story of Lucky the horse who braved a flood and fire. Yeah, he looks like he's running, huh? And in the beginning, we thank our families and friends and the Pueblo County Historical Society and a lot of other people who helped us. Here's the first page. We're here with the girl and the clock and Lucky. This is a story about time. This is a story about a horse named Lucky. This is a story of a girl who traveled back in history and found gratitude for her heritage. This is a story about how lucky we are to be alive. There is a word that I use in there. It's called gratitude. Can someone tell me what gratitude means? Yes?
Kind of like thank.
Yeah, it's like what Thanksgiving's about, right? Being happy we're alive. Next page. A young girl, Zara, and her mom were walking downtown when they passed a huge mural of a horse stuck in a tree and a flood washing away the city. Is that the mural that about the flood that great grandma Lily survived? Yes, Zara, the Great Pueblo Flood of 1921. And that is a horse named Lucky. Raise your hand or shout out if you've ever seen this mural before. Has anyone ever seen this mural downtown? If you haven't, it's near Silla Roast near 2nd and Main. You should definitely go check it out. A great artist named Matt Reffick made it. And it actually helped inspire this book. Zara's mom smiled as she got an idea. Let's go to the place where Lucky lives. Let's go to the place where Lucky the horse lives. The Pueblo Heritage Museum. They walked down Union Avenue all the way to Pueblo's historic district. There they are, walking into the Pueblo Heritage Museum. Raise your hand if you've ever been there. You have? Awesome. I'd love to have you come back, and if you haven't been, come visit us. She learned that Pueblo means, and next page we're on, she learned that Pueblo means the people, the town, and also the village in Spanish and Latin. She learned about people of Ute Nation, an indigenous tribe from her dad's side of the family. In an exhibit about world-famous Pueblo saddles, Zara locked eyes with a dapple gray hemp papier-mâché horse named Lucky Saddler, or simply Lucky for short. Does he look like he's smiling in that picture? Do you think he looks like he's smiling? I think he does. He always is smiling. I love him. Suddenly, she felt Lucky come alive, and she saw a picture in her mind. Zara heard him say in his gentle voice, "Let me show you my story. It might be scary, but I know, you know, all is well." Can you say his phrase with me? All is well. Can you say all is well? All is well. That's his phrase throughout the book, and you hear him say it a lot. Zara felt a shift, and her vision got blurry. She felt the room fall upwards. She began to spin, and everything went. Who can read the next page? What's that word on the next page?
Dark.
Dark. Everything went dark. The page is dark. Zara now saw firefighters putting out a fire. It was Pueblo, but it didn't look the same. She heard people yell, "Save the horse! Save the horse!" Then she saw Lucky get pulled from the fire unharmed. And in her mind, she heard him say, what did he say? All is well, all is well. Can somebody read the date on the bottom of the page? Yeah, and I'll come to you next.
1989.
Yes, October, I'll come to you next time, okay? October 1989. So she traveled back to the 1980s. Suddenly, Zara got dizzy. The street began to rise up into an abyss as she fell backwards, spinning. And again, everything went, someone read it out loud? Dark. Everything went dark. Emerging from the darkness, Lucky was there, guiding her. Though she felt afraid, Lucky made her feel safe. And then what does he say? All is well, all is well. Then Zara woke up in a bed, but she did not recognize the room. She heard the voice of a woman. "Lily, dear, come have breakfast before your father leaves for work." She thought to herself. Lily was my great-grandmother's name. She looked in a mirror. She was still aware of herself as Zara, but also naturally accepted she was somehow seeing through Lily's eyes. So she's seeing through her great-grandmother's eyes. She traveled back in time. She went downstairs, and her mother asked, "Lily, did you sleep well? I thought we could go shopping today." She yawned as she shared, "I had funny dreams, but shopping sounds fun." Her father declared as he took a sip from his coffee, "The chieftain says it should not rain like it did yesterday. Let's hope they are right." You over here in the purple hoodie, can you tell me what this is right here? What does it look like in the bottom part of the page? Newspaper? Yeah. Does it look like it's newer or older, like from a long time ago? A long time ago? Yeah. I know it's kind of hard to read on here, but it does say June 3rd, 1921. This is a real picture of a newspaper from June 3rd, 1921. Again, over 102 years ago. So in that newspaper, the day before the flood got really bad, it actually says that there was a ton of rain and it did actually flood a little bit. So the day before the really bad flood, there was already rain that was happening. So like the dad says, let's hope it doesn't rain like it did yesterday. Lily and her mother took a trolley car down to Main Street and they walked past Fraser's saddlery. In the shop, she saw the same papier-mâché dapple gray horse. He was the same as she had seen at the Pueblo Heritage Museum and outside that fire, in different times and places. He looked a little less weathered and younger. With a sigh, she whispered to herself, "Oh, this day is weird." Would that be super weird to just see that same horse all across space and time? And what do you think? There's a really weird word in there that's even hard for me to say. I said saddlery. Can anyone take a guess at what a saddlery is? Look at what's in there. You can kind of tell. I'll just tell you. So a place, oh yeah, go ahead.
A saddlery is like what goes on a horse.
Yes, a saddle is what goes on a horse. So a saddlery is where they make them and sell them. Good job. So Lucky, as I told you, as he said earlier, is not flesh and bones, but he's like a horse mannequin, like how they have clothes on a person at the store, a mannequin. He's who they put the saddles on so people, before they buy the saddles, can see what he looked like. Because back in 1921, do you think there were a lot of cars yet or no? Not a lot of cars yet? So a lot of people rode horses. And Pueblo used to be a big place all around the world that they knew that we made really good saddles here. All right, we'll move on. As she walked past the horse and caught his eyes, she heard a familiar voice in her mind and heart. "I know, you know." What does he say? All is well, all is well. Her mother said, "Come along, Lily." And the clouds above grew darker. Lily and her mother went back home early because of the storm brewing above them. "Oh, I hope your father makes it home okay," her mother said with a shaky voice. For a moment, Lily felt afraid. Then she remembered what Lucky telepathically told her. What'd he say? All is well, all is well. Lily comforted her mother. He'll be home safe, and this is going to be a crazy storm. Let us keep him safe in our thoughts. I said a word in there, telepathically. Does anyone know what that might mean? Telepathically? Looking at the books. It means, oh yeah, go ahead.
Like kind of in your mind.
Yeah, talking with your mind. And that's what she's saying. Let's keep him safe in our thoughts. All right, next page. As the day was getting late, her father ran in the front door, soaking wet. He said that the river was flooding and many people were gathered in the streets, watching the river climb its banks. He said they were lucky to live in Aberdeen, a neighborhood on higher grounds. Her dad described the trains, houses, and lumber floating down the river. Then Lily had a vision in her mind of Lucky floating downstream, bobbing in the rushing rivers. Can you guys see Lucky there in the river? She felt the terror of the event as sirens cried in the distance. Much damage would be caused and many lives lost. She sensed how her faith earlier helped bring her father home. She held this hope in her heart again, this time for the entire community of Pueblo. We are lucky to be alive. All will be well again one day, she reminded her family. Lily and her parents slept as much as they could as the rain pounded on the roof through the night. They worried about their friends and family that they weren't able to reach before the phone lines went down. Lily dreamt she saw lumber on fire floating downriver. She saw Lucky standing tall in a tree. She heard a whisper of his voice. What do you think he said? All is well. All is well. And there he is in the tree. And that's actually a real picture of the Union Depot when there was flooding happening, as well as some of the other pictures. Early the next day, Lily and her mom read the paper while her father went to help rescue people from tall buildings and shovel mud from the roads. Can somebody read the title of that? Yeah, go ahead. The title of the newspaper, yeah.
Blood extra.
Do you know what the next word say?
The Pueblo
Chieftain.
chieftain.
Yeah. And then what does the date say underneath it?
Pueblo, Colorado, June 4th, 1921.
Yes. And then as you can see on the right of the newspaper, it even says, what does it say at the top with the word D? Here, actually, sorry, yes. And then good job. And then what does it say? Yes. Oh, it's so hard. What do you think that is talking about?
Like all the people who died.
Yes. So that is actually naming those real people's names that you can see there. So I want to pause here and say that if that makes you feel any emotion, that it's okay. Because even though it happened a long time ago, we could still feel empathy for when things happen, especially when it was right here on the ground that we stand on. Sometimes we can feel sad even if it didn't happen to us. They heard stories of heroes like John Nittinger, who sounded a steam whistle for hours to warn of the flood until the waters reached his waist. Then he hung from a ceiling pipe all night until he was rescued the next day. And he was rescued by a rowboat because the waters were so high. Her heart hurt. Her heart hurt when hearing stories of loved ones lost. In the streets, there was wreckage and even cattle that had drowned. Do you guys see the picture, seeing the cattle and the horses that had drowned? Yeah, and that's actually, I believe that's an old schoolhouse right there too that got flooded, and you can see the streets. What do you think that would feel like to wake up to that or go through that? Would it feel really scary? Yes, it really would be. It would be very scary and feel like the world was ending. They learned of Josephine Pryor and her team of switchboard operators who helped warn people of the flood by telephone, risking their lives. They carried a hand-cranked record player from floor to floor as the waters rose. The music helped keep their spirits high. Why do you think it'd be dangerous to be using the telephones, which are connected to electricity, when the waters were flooding the buildings? Yeah.
Because if it touches an electrical cord, it'll make the water electrical, and then
Yeah.
the water will get electrocuted.
Yeah, they risked their lives because they could have been getting electrocuted. And then, like it says here, they were able to carry this record player from floor to floor, which wasn't electrical, but they could crank it to listen to the music, and that helped them stay sane. This picture was actually one that was drawn by a real telephone operator a few days after the flood. It says, our first day back at the switchboard. So they were listening to music and stuff after they started working again too, because I'm sure they were feeling very stressed after surviving that. Within 2 days, Lucky was found in a cottonwood tree in the farmlands of Avondale, just as Lily had seen in her dream. Somehow, he only had minor injuries, and his spirit held strong. He became a symbol of hope and resilience for Pueblo when he returned home. This is a zoomed in version of that mural that we talked about. And as someone mentioned earlier, he did actually used to have glass eyes that fell out at some point during his journey. And then he lost one of his ears, and we'll see a picture of that soon. Lily went to see him. She locked eyes with Lucky, who was missing an ear. He spoke to her mind. All is well. Even though there is much destruction in your city, all is well. Thank you. Thank you for holding hope for me, your family, and your community. The world is brighter because of your hope. Now, go teach this to others. Can you notice that one of his ears are missing here? One of his ears are missing. That's what happened when he was brought down the river. As the horse spoke to Lucky, she felt a familiar dizziness, the same feeling that had brought her back in time to 1921. As if waking up from a dream, she opened her eyes and saw her mother. Zara, are you okay? You fell down a few seconds ago. Zara was so relieved to see her again. She gave her a really, really big hug. Mom, Lucky has seen so much. Pueblo rebuilt. The people are safe now, and we still have a city on the river. Yes, Zara. This horse somehow survived a flood and a fire. He is resilient. I feel like Lucky just told me his whole story. I'm so grateful for you and our family and our city. I can't believe what people have gone through for us to be here today. Pueblo is strong. You are strong. I am strong. Pueblo survived, just like Lucky the horse. Yes, Zara, we are resilient. All is well. All is well, Zara repeated as she saw a glimmer in Lucky's eyes. Zara felt so much for a girl her age. She traveled back in time over 102 years. She felt the strength of her city, her family, and all those who came before her. She saw Lucky the horse and Pueblo survive in the face of challenges and destruction. Zara knew that all was well, exactly as it was meant to be. And at the end of a very, very weird day, Zara felt so lucky to be alive. The end. That's it. Thank you. And as you can see on the last page, there is a link that you can go to. The link is written as well as there's a QR code. So there's going to be coloring. There are coloring pages there already. There's real flood stories, so you can actually see a whole PDF of tons of more real stories that we couldn't fit in the book of people who were heroes, people who lived through it, and even people who passed in the flood. And also some reflection questions for teachers. A lot more too that you can see there, as well as where you can follow Lucky on social media. And then and then on the back you can see some comments we've gotten from people. An epic historical fiction sci-fi book for all ages, and Lucky is a historic spirit guide and resilient legend, and it's a riveting way to get kids and adults excited about history. So thank you so much. There are some snacks still back there. We can also do pin the tail and ear on Lucky back there, or we might actually move it up here. And then there's coloring sheets right there on these two tables if you'd like to take them home, or just color them here too. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And feel free to keep this if you'd like, if you want to remember to